We are live. Good evening, everyone. I'm David Johnson. Thank you for being here for our live chat. I'm from Transform Ed Consulting, and I would like to thank my dear friend, Cassandra Williams, for allowing us to use her channel, Educational Innovation 360 Degrees. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest for tonight. It's Dr. Malika Pitts Harvey. Malika Pitts Harvey, PhD, is Associate Vice President of Student Affairs, Texas Lutheran University, Seguin, Texas. She began her career in higher education in 2004 when she served as coordinator and later Assistant Director of Student Retention at Florida Atlantic University. In 2007, Dr. Pitts Harvey joined Texas Lutheran University's Office of Student Affairs, where she served as the Director of First Year and Campus Programs. She was promoted to Associate Dean in 2014. Today, she offers support to a team of directors, coordinators, administrative support staff, and student leaders. Dr. Pitts Harvey considers her greatest achievement throughout her years in higher education has been to assist students in becoming self-directed and accomplishing their academic and personal goals. Thank you for being here, Malika.
Good evening, David. Thank you so much for having me this evening, and greetings from Texas Lutheran. I'm here in my office this evening, so great to see you all.
Are you working late today?
I am, but like I said, I want to make sure that I am stable, and I'm here at the TOU campus, so this is a great spot. I spent a lot of time in my office, and I'm just really glad to be able to talk to you this evening. And
right, I think you do spend a lot of time in your office. I received an email message from you at 8:30 last night.
Yes. I am very busy, but I'm also having a really good time too.
Now, tell me, do you sleep in your office too? Do you have a mattress hidden somewhere in there?
No. Eventually got to call it quits and get home and start it up another day. So but no, after 17 years, it's been a joy.
Well, see, you mentioned the 17 years, which says to me that you are dedicated to your work and you find pleasure in your work.
Yes. 2 years at Florida Atlantic University and 15 years here at Texas Lutheran.
Well, tell us how you got here to such a wonderful job, a job that gives you such pleasure.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for reading my bio. It was very humbling to think about what this journey has been like for me. But I was at a place in my career where I really was very interested in being a director. And my supervisor at the time said, Malika, listen, it's your time and it's your season. And I think that was very humbling for me to realize that, yes, I could step out and I could become a director. And so I had my eyes on Texas for quite some time. And so I put my name out there, and luckily I was able to be offered the position to be the director. And it was just a very humbling and wonderful time for me, because to get the offer, that meant that I would not only be the youngest director within the division, but I was also the only African-American to join the TOU directors at the time. So it's been a journey and such a joy.
And you're originally from Florida.
I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. Yes, sir.
Well, you know how they say you were born in Florida, but you got to Texas as soon as you could.
I am now officially a Florida Texan. Embracing all that Texas has to bring. But yes, my roots are in Miami, Florida.
And understand you do some adjunct teaching as well as part of your position.
Yes, here at Texas Lutheran, I have had the pleasure of teaching a first-year seminar course. It's called Exploring Arts and Sciences. I love that class. It gives me an opportunity to meet incoming students and to learn from them. I think it's a joy teaching, but it's a great opportunity for me to learn from them as well.
Well, you're a busy person. So I must ask, what is your why? Why do you get up in the morning? Why do you do what you do?
Well, I will say that my why has been being able to watch my students grow and to see the happiness and the joy and the pride in their families' faces. Small accomplishments are big accomplishments as far as I'm concerned. I know for them, that's A on that one paper. No, that's something that needs to be celebrated within the family, that needs to be celebrated within the community. So my why has just been the joy and seeing students do things that they didn't think that they could do, and watching families build traditions and have remarkable achievements that they can be proud of. So I'm excited.
Well, your why includes that one bullet there: the roles of parents, partners, family members, and villagers. Our topic for this evening is Let's Talk About It. Gearing
Yes.
Up for College 101. How'd you come up with that title?
Well, because I think that this opportunity tonight is just for us to maybe walk away with some things for us to consider, especially, you know, as students are in the summer groove and they're, you know, they have some time off. I think it's important to maybe just take a few moments to start thinking about, why do I want to go to college? What is maybe my desired major or area of interest? Maybe how my experiences may be different from my older siblings, because I know sometimes students will compare and contrast experiences of siblings or friends. So I really want this to be an opportunity to just start going through those moments of reflection and to really start asking those questions that maybe they don't have the time and space to ask for during the school year.
Now, the numbers 101, 101 imply we're starting at the beginning.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's jump right in, right at the beginning. Questions to consider as you gear up. What do you mean by that?
I think it goes back to just that original question of, number one, why do I want to go to college? Why do I want to go to college? Why do I feel like this is the time and the place for me? Also, I think it's a great time as they're thinking about colleges. The next phase, in my opinion, is, so do you want to stay close to home? Do you want to live on campus? Do you want to commute? And then I also know that finances is a big thing for students. And so it also leads them into that additional layer of, am I going to maintain a job off campus, or am I potentially going to look at on campus opportunities?
Interesting. The question of why a student would want to attend college. What type of answers do you receive from students?
Oh, they have varied over these past 17 years. It has been, for some students, a dream. They've always wanted to go to college. I know for my earlier days, I know students were still watching the 𝐾𝐨𝐬 show. So they then in turn were watching A Different World. So for them, they saw college on the screen and said, hey, I want to do what those people are doing. So I've heard it in different ways throughout the years. And a lot of it has been whether they've seen it on TV, they've heard about the experiences from maybe people from their high schools that have come back and shared their experiences. And then I've heard those that said, listen, I know that I need this in order to go far in my specific goal or career. I need to go to college. And so I've heard it from a place of fear. Sometimes, like, if I don't do this, I'm afraid I'm not going to get certain opportunities, to just, I have a joy of learning and I just want to see where this will take me.
Earlier, you and I were speaking off camera about your students, and you said you had a lot of first generation college students.
Yes.
And I'm tying this back to your answer regarding why students want to attend college. What type, do you find that there's a difference in the whys between the first generation students and students whose parents attended college?
It varies per student, but I know that from my first generation college students is the excitement of being the first, but also the fear of being the first as well.
Right.
We encourage them to walk into this with strength and knowing that they do have support. But I also understand that for many of them, it's the fear of the unknown, where for some of my students who do have parents that have gone to college, they have some type of blueprint. So I do appreciate when our students who are the first in their family to go to college, that they're really adamant about, you know, asking if their family members can come with them on admission events or to special presentations. We've even had high school counselors to maybe even stand in the gap when family members were unable to attend and provide that support on that day. So I've seen it both ways, David. I've seen the fear and I've seen the excitement, regardless if they're the first in the family or they're continuing a family legacy.
Well, what else do you do to address students' fear about being the first in their families to attend college?
Well, I think I'm a very laid back person, and I try to have a very fun and easygoing personality when I'm interacting with students and parents. So I have the pleasure of meeting a lot of them during our admission events here at TOU. They just call me Miss Malika, you know, and I tell them that's fine. And so I talk to them about the importance of asking questions, never suffering in silence, and remembering that this is a journey that they are not to me, they should not be walking alone. They shouldn't
Mm.
want to walk alone.
Mhm.
And I'm really big about encouraging them to tap into resources, especially those that they've already paid for in their student services fees. And so
Mhm.
that is what I've taken a lot of joy in, is being able to have those conversations even before school starts and
Mhm.
just letting them know what's available to them.
Well, let's talk about the SAT and ACT. A
Yes.
lot of schools, a lot of institutions of higher education have dropped the requirement for SAT and ACT. So, to ask the question, should you take the SAT, ACT?
Yes, and I'm going to say yes. And the reason why is because I want our students to know that a lot of financial aid packages at colleges and universities um, are attached to SAT and ACT scores. So I understand that, by a school being test optional, you don't need the SAT and ACT to be admitted. But I know that finances is a really big thing for a lot of our students. And so I encourage them to do the best that they can and give us the best score that they possibly can earn, so that we could try to get them to really connected to as many grants and scholarships. I'm also really big about telling students loans are fine, but we want to try to get you the free money first. So
Right.
let's try to get the score where it needs to be so we can get you the grants and the scholarship.
Now, that's a point of ignorance for me. Tell us how the SAT and ACT would be attached to financial aid.
For some of the financial aid awards, I should say, they have GPA or SAT requirements. And so that's why I'm always really big about encouraging students, especially during this time over the summer. If you have a dream school or a school that you're thinking about attending, go to their website to see what are those requirements that they are asking for. Because if they say they need a specific SAT or ACT for this specific grant or this specific scholarship, then you know what to work towards.
Okay. So the relationship between the SAT and the ACT could be tied directly or specifically to a specific grant or scholarship.
Yes. Mhm.
Understood. Understood. Interestingly, then, would there be specific grants or scholarships available to students with a low score on ACT or SAT?
I think it just depends on the institution. I
Right.
think that that's the importance of this one-on-one time and students
Right.
being able to ask those questions of those institutions. I mean, I've been always honest with my students. I was not the best standardized test taker, but
Hmm.
I was encouraged to make sure that I had a very strong application packet where my grades were up to par, my volunteer hours were great, and my recommendation letters were strong. So
Hmm.
I still encourage students to give us your best. And again, if you are able to take the test, give us your best score so that we can try to get you those grants and
Hmm.
scholarships. But don't be
And
discouraged if you're not, super strong in test taking, because I wasn't either.
neither was I.
I wasn't. I just was.
I've broken the code, but neither was I in the very beginning. Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of financial aid, let's move on to FAFSA.
Yeah.
FAFSA shapes the narrative. What do you mean by that?
Well, I want some of our students to, because I feel like there are some that may, so I don't want to say that none of the students know about FAFSA, but for those who may be hesitant to complete the FAFSA, I want them to complete the FAFSA. And it's primarily because the FAFSA helps to shape the narrative. It allows the college and university to know what your need is so that they can give you a financial aid package that supports you through your undergraduate or graduate school journey. So we do sometimes have students, well, I don't want to share information. Well, we can't know what you need if we don't have you complete the FAFSA. So I'm just really big about encouraging students to know that if you need assistance, because I know sometimes it could be intimidating if they're doing the FAFSA and they don't know how to do it. I know here at Texas Lutheran University, our student financial services team is great about walking students through how to complete the FAFSA. And I always encourage them to lean into to those community partners that have helped them in high school. They still might be able to help them even after they leave. But I know a lot of the colleges and universities are committed to helping students complete the paperwork.
Now, Malika, we say FAFSA like a throwaway term because we're accustomed to saying it, but maybe everyone doesn't know what FAFSA means. So please give us the meaning of FAFSA.
Yes, the FAFSA is the form that allows us to, again, see where there's a need. If a student is going to be going to a college or university, it allows us to see the funding that they will need in order to help support them financially through their studies. Um, through the actual form, and again, the acronym, because I know living in a military community, we're really big about acronyms. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So that's the other thing. So I want to make sure to spell that out. But again, it's used to help us decide and to see based off of what the family income is and the need of the family at that time. What is it that we can award you for the upcoming school year? And for the FAFSA, I've reminded students that it will cover you from the fall, the spring, and also the summer as well.
Cool. And it's completed online. And if I remember correctly, as soon as you click submit, you start getting information like immediately. Am I correct?
That is true. That is true. So yeah, students can go straight to the website, complete it. But like I said, I know that that's one thing that I've heard from our students, that sometimes it can be a little intimidating doing it on their own, and that I just don't want them to stress out about. Let us support them in that process.
Yeah, and if I may, institutions of higher education want students to complete these forms, and they want students to have financial aid available to them because it helps the student attend the school. And what do schools exist to do but to educate students? You can't educate them if they're not there, and the financial aid allows them to be there.
Absolutely. Yes. And again, we want students to let us help with that process, because I know for a lot of students, they are working, and that is helping to subsidize a lot of things. But if the financial aid from the institution can help support, I think that's even better.
Now, before we went on air, we were talking about the difference between loans and grants and scholarships. Yeah. Would you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, the way I teach it in my classes is grants and scholarships is free money. Loans you have to pay back. And I think that's what I just try to make sure to be very upfront with them about. And I'm also really big about when I'm teaching my classes, explaining to students that with grants and scholarships, and even with some loans, but I see it more so in grants and scholarships, there could be GPA requirements that they have to make sure that they adhere to. So just because it's free, it doesn't mean that you don't have an obligation in order to maintain those funds. And so that's how I try to explain it to students, is an opportunity, again, for you to have free funds, but in return, it means that you're going to be doing something. So that means keeping up your grades, completing a certain number of credit hours each year, so that, again, you can be in good standing.
Now, Malika, could you also differentiate between the kinds of loans? For example, right now at the federal level, there's deep conversation about forgiving loans, but not every student would be forgiven a loan depending on the type of loan the student has.
Right. And for that specific, for that specific piece, I'm constantly encouraging our students to be in contact with our student financial services. And that's for any student who's listening to the podcast. I think it's always important to be in contact with the financial aid office or the student financial services department, so that they can clearly go through what are those stipulations and what are those things that they need to pay attention to with the loans and those loan requirements. Again, when do you have to start the repayment for the loan? What is the interest rate for the loan? So for me, I'm really big about encouraging our students to tap in and to talk to our student financial services department, and also parents, because we also know that parents are also taking out loans to help support their students. So I want to make sure that they're also very knowledgeable in what that looks like.
Actually, Malika, you took the thoughts right out of my head. That's where I was going next.
Okay.
When parents take a loan,
yes,
it is usually or often or regularly through a bank.
Yes.
So when the federal government starts talking about forgiving loans, those loans are not included.
That I will say I'm not very familiar with. Again, I know that there are different rules and regulations for the different financial aid packages. So thank you, David, for educating me, because again, when it comes to that, I know that our team has done a really good job. And I know that financial literacy is something that's extremely important to me and to those who are on our campus, about making sure that if students are going to make this investment, that they understand what this means and what is required of them and what is required of their family members if they're also supporting them.
This is very interesting and important to students, that they know about the availability of money and the consequences of the kinds of money they use.
That is true. That is true.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. Summertime is for tours, research, and more. I want to know what the more is.
Well, I think for me, summertime is supposed to be fun. So if any student is on here and says, this lady is crazy, she just wants me to like be at the computer researching colleges all summer, absolutely not. But I think that it is a really good time to get on these campuses and start seeing what's out there. So if you are able, please do that, especially if some of the campuses that you're looking at are within a driving distance. Please see if you can either schedule or just take some time out and just drive and drive to the campus and just walk around. I think that there's also some benefit in seeing it just from an outsider who's just walking around and just seeing the different buildings and seeing how faculty and staff and students are interacting throughout their day. I think that there could be something really powerful in that.
Well, don't campuses still have orientation, freshman orientation?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, we are gearing up for ours, and we will have it in August, the weekend of the 20th and 21st. So yes, we do have orientations.
And what occurs during freshman orientation?
And for us, our orientations are not just for our freshmen. We also have it for our transfer students as well. And so it's an opportunity for them to understand what this new journey is going to look and feel like. It gets them connected to support resources on campus, and it also allows them to be connected with others who are going through the same thing that they're going through. Because I think for some students, they think they're the only ones.
Yeah.
And when they get to orientation and they see people who might be just as scared as them or just as excited as them or may be playing the same sport or the same instrument as them, I think it lessens the fears and heightens the excitement.
And how long is orientation these days? I don't remember how long my orientation was, but how long is orientation?
You know what, David? It can vary. It can absolutely vary depending on the institution. I know here at Texas Lutheran, our orientation is actually going to be a 3-day process. And so the way it works for us, August 19th is when our students move in and our parents have specific sessions for them to participate in with their students. And then the 21st and 22nd, it's all about the students.
Wow. And I'm sure it's a packed schedule from breakfast through dinner and even afterward.
Yeah, we try to have some breaks. We definitely try to have some breaks so they can have some time to relax and unwind a little bit. But you know what I tell people, what I have also learned, sometimes the packed day keeps them busy because when they are homesick and a lot of things are going on in their heads and the fears, I think sometimes the adrenaline and them keeping themselves busy has also helped as well. But we definitely try to have some breaks in there.
And what is the Texas Reality Check?
This is what I absolutely love. Texas Reality. Oh, and let me just also share too, David, before I move to Reality Check, that in the event that students are not able to physically visit a campus, I have seen so many amazing virtual tours that students can take of the college campus. So I really do encourage them to tap into that as well. So yeah, even if you can't travel and you can't get there, I know gas is high. I know how it's looking and feeling. Don't hesitate to take the virtual tour on the website.
At one time technology has changed, but at one time schools were sending out discs with videos and other things included.
Yes.
So how is that made available to students now?
From what I have definitely seen, especially through this pandemic, a lot of information is on the school's website. It is absolutely right there. So they have a link for virtual tours, or if they don't see it, they can always contact the admissions office for that institution. And that administrative assistant at that department can, transfer them to the specific website or give them that specific username and password, however it works. But I have found that because of COVID, that has really been a benefit to students who cannot physically get to certain college campuses.
Okay, let's talk about the Texas Reality Check.
I want every student, if they are watching, or parents, when they get a chance, go to Google and type in Texas Reality Check. And I learned about Texas Reality Check during my time as an adjunct professor at Northeast Lakeview College. And this was a really, really fun activity where the students were able to go online and get a reality check of what it means if they want to own their own home, buy a car, eat out every night. If they want to go shopping every day, whatever it is that they want their lifestyles to be, the reality is this is how much money you need to make. And then what I also love about the reality check activity is it also gives them information about their desired majors or fields of study. And it allows them to see how much people actually earn in that specific field of study. Do they have to actually continue moving forward with a master's and a PhD? So Texas Reality Check is, something I even have included in my syllabus in my classes here at Texas Lutheran, because students really want that moment of, oh, wow, this is how much I have to make a year. Oh, wow, after the bachelor's, I have to keep going on and I have to get a master's or a doctorate. So I tell people it's a very fun, interactive way for the students to really see what life is like after college.
Now, Malika, I'm going to take that in a different direction.
Sure.
The rule of thumb is a student should not have more than a first year salary, should not have more debt than first year salary. So when someone does a reality check, is it like a slap in the head? Oh my goodness, I'm not making enough. I won't make enough money if I keep borrowing money, if I have this much loan.
Well, I will be honest with you, David, because the population of students that I work with are typically first year students. Mm-hmm. I think for them, it just becomes a wake up call of, this is what this journey is going to look like. So this is how I need to be mindful moving forward. And that's why I think I've enjoyed, and trust me, I enjoy working with my upperclassmen. So upperclassmen, if you listen, Miss Malika does love you. However, I feel like my greatest work has been working with first year students where we could really start having those conversations, planting those seeds, and giving them things to think about as they continue to progress at the institution.
Okay, Miss Malika, we have like 2 minutes left. So tell us about the role of parents, partners, family members, and villagers.
I just want them to know that their presence means more to the students than they can ever imagine. The support that they give them as they are trying to juggle school, as they are trying to juggle work and any other obligations, whether that's athletics, work. I just want them to know that they really do appreciate you, and you being on this journey really does mean a lot.
Now, when I read villagers, I'm thinking it takes a village to raise a child. Was that your thinking as well?
Absolutely, because I have also been very mindful, and our staff is very mindful. Not every person who comes to college is coming with parents. Not every person who's coming to college is coming with a spouse. We know that sometimes it has been the family that we've built through this journey called life that will be there to support us as we embark on what it means to be a college student. So I definitely don't want to leave those individuals out.
Could we go back to just a minute about research, sometimes for tours and research? So we mentioned the tours, the virtual tours, and we mentioned the more. Could you dig in a little bit deeper on research, particularly in the roles of parents, partners, family members, and villagers?
I think it's also very helpful. And I think the beauty of online websites and again, podcasts, right, is that you're able to dig in a little bit deeper, find out about those programs that they offer, learning about their accreditation, learning about where their graduates go when they leave the institution. So I think that is the kind of research that is very valuable to students as they're trying to think about majors, fields of study, internship opportunities, and careers after. So that's what I meant by the research.
Now, Miss Malika, we've covered a lot of topics here, and our little brains might not get all of it. So what would be the main takeaway you'd like us to have?
That college is a journey, and that this experience is one like none other. But I think it's fun, and I think it's full of so many possibilities. And I am just very excited to have been on this journey with so many students for the past 17 years. And so I am just here to say, listen, there's no right or wrong. What's right is what works for you. And that's why I've also mentioned that my goal has really been to make sure that my students know what their resources are. And most importantly, to know that they don't have to do this by themselves.
And then what's the call to action? What do you want people to do with all this information?
To not be afraid to ask questions. That although there is a lot of information coming, sometimes too fast, too quick, all at one time, don't ever struggle in silence, and make sure that you're tapping in.
And if people want to know more, how do they contact you?
I am on LinkedIn, so please do not hesitate to Malika Pitts Harvey. Please don't hesitate to send me a message through LinkedIn. And I am here at Texas Lutheran University, and you are more than welcome to email me directly here at TOU.
Our guest tonight was Dr. Malika Pitts-Harvey, Associate Vice President of Student Affairs, Texas Lutheran University, Seguin, Texas. Thank you, Ms. Malika, for being here. I'm David Johnson, Transform Ed Consulting, and thanks to my good friend and colleague, Cassandra Williams, for allowing us to use her channel, Educational Innovations 360 Degrees. Thank you all for being here, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.